5 most powerful giants who walked on Earth according to the Bible. 1. Anak and his sons. When the spies of Moses saw this giant race, they said, "We looked like lobsters with them. Imagine their size." 2. Og, king of Bazan. His bed measured more than 4 meters. He was a powerful giant king defeated by Moses, according to Deuteronomy 3.3. Goliath, the best known. He measured almost 3 meters and was defeated by David with only 1 stone, a story of faith against brute force. 4. The 24-fingered giant. He had 6 fingers on each hand and foot. 5. The Nephilim. They were the first giants. Genesis 6.4 describes them as giants on earth. When the children of God united with human women, they were huge, impressive, and their existence was so out of the ordinary that God decided to clean the world with the flood. It's not a legend. These giants walked on earth, and the Bible remembers them as part of its most shocking history.
And have you seen those mysterious footage where divers discovered this 6-foot giant helmet underwater? Approximately a helmet like this could have belonged to a person about 190 feet. And you know what's most surprising? That all over the world, they find other similar artifacts. For example, like these huge rings that weighing 10 feet, and also find giant fossilized footprints the size of a human being. These findings prove that a race of giants once existed on Earth. But the most amazing proof of their existence is this mysterious object, which is visible even from space. This object is called Adam's Bridge, and it connects India and Sri Lanka with a length of more than 30 miles. And according to ancient maps before the 15th century, it was not flooded at all. Only giants with enormous physical strength could have built such an object. This bridge has been repeatedly studied by divers who have concluded that it is definitely not a natural formation, and that helmet seen at the beginning of the video was found near this bridge. Incidentally, there is an assumption that the Egyptian pyramids were also built by this same civilization of giants. I think you know yourself that humans could not have built them. But everyone wonders, where did this civilization of giants disappear to? If we are to believe various sacred writings, they were destroyed by the great biblical flood.
Oh wow. This is just beautiful. Look at this. There's the, you know, when you, there's the big toe and the other 4 toes down to the small toe, down to the heel. What's fascinating about this is anybody that does a study of this will notice this piece sticking out here. It's like when you put your foot in mud and you pull it out, your toes will lift up a little mud where your toes were, and that's exactly what seems to have happened here. This rough granite is just, it's pulled up. This overhang here, it's spectacular. And I see that people have been visiting here because they've been leaving little coins here, which is wonderful. Maybe just come closer and show this from more close up. Okay. Well, I don't know who else has filmed this, but I think we'll put this up for everybody to see, for everyone to really appreciate this is spectacular bit of human history. There were giants on Earth.
Hey, Tiny Tim, buckle up, because you are not ready to see the extent they will go to hide the fact that giants once roamed this level flat realm you call Earth. This is the Southeast Asian country of Laos, and you will not believe not only what has been found here, but what has been done to this place in an effort to keep you from knowing what was actually here at one point. You see, these human-sized mugs have been found all over the plains of Laos. And it has been speculated for decades about what these things actually are and who made them. But if you're familiar with my channel at all, you know who made them. And in my opinion, they weren't just made for drinking, they were made for cooking, because there are still lids on some of these mugs. Lids that literally depict on top of them what was to be cooked inside of them. Some with human-looking designs on them, and others with more reptilian or frog-looking designs. But the fact that giants were here isn't even the biggest part of this story. That's yet to come. But you should know by now that The sons of God came into the daughters of men and created the giants, just like is referenced in the Bible multiple times. Again here, when it talks about the sons of Anak, which were giants, and how we looked like grasshoppers in their sight. But the evidence doesn't just come in the form of their mugs or cooking utensils. No, it comes in the terrain as well. Because as usual, when you take a different perspective, you see exactly what's there, even down to an eye. And when you explore the terrain further, again, you see faces in the mountains. Literal petrified faces in the mountains. But again, the giants here aren't the biggest story. The biggest story is what they go through to hide this from you. Because do you know that Laos has been bombed more than any other country in the history of the world? This neutral country that is nowhere in the path on a flat earth or a globe map between Russia and the United States just happened to get the crap bombed out of them during the Cold War. That's how bad they don't want you to know the truth about this place you live. The truth that we're living in a created realm by a creator that giants once inhabited, which is talked about in the Bible. Because if you knew giants existed here, then it legitimizes the Bible. And then, you know what else it legitimizes? The creator of this place you call Earth. And of course, they wouldn't be they without putting the truth right in plain sight in the movie Gulliver's Travels, where there's a giant holding a giant-sized mug that looks an awful lot like the Laos mugs. But maybe I'm just smoking the good stuff again, as the trolls like to say in the comments. But it sure does look an awful lot like a giant petrified face to me. But as always, this video is just for shits and giggles.
So this video comes from Brazil. They're saying that this is a giant on top of a mountain next to a bunch of trees. He does look pretty damn giant, and the houses are smaller. What do you guys think?
There's no human. We're meant to see.
Have you guys seen this video where the passenger on this plane is flying over Turkey and taking a video of the view and captures on camera what they think are people stranded on this island right here? I'm here to tell you, those are not people, y'all. Look, this plane is some 30,000 feet up in the air, okay? Even a zoomed in shot, those people have to be extremely tall, like lighthouse type height. Bam. Yeah, that's not people right there. That's something else. Are these giants? Are there giants living on an island off the coast of Turkey?
Watch a video of a giant?
A real giant?
A real giant
How
video.
big is he?
Probably 15, 16 feet tall.
What? Is it an actual giant human?
It's a Japanese film from before World War II.
And he's 15 feet tall?
He's got 12 or 15 feet tall.
Holy
if you look at the video. There you go.
What? Is that real?
Yeah.
No, that's not real. That's so CGI.
Okay, so I gotta give up that one.
The two Kashmir giants posing with the American photographer Jamis Rickleton, 1903. One of the giants was 7 feet 9 inches tall, while the shorter one was a mere 7 feet 4 inches tall, while according to various sources they were indeed twin brothers. One of the original captions claims that the Kashmiri brothers were originally from a place called Balmokand. Unfortunately, we can't locate this place in Kashmir. Could it be that these giants came from another land over the ice wall that we don't know about? Apparently these brothers vanished one day to never be seen again, and no one knew where they went. They also spoke a language that no one was familiar with, and some people said it wasn't of this earth. I think it's possible they went back to their homeland of Balmokand that hasn't been discovered yet because it's on another planet.
These giant men, 8 to 15 feet tall, red hair, would come and just eat the Japanese soldiers, rip them apart. Apparently, there's rich history of giants regarding the Solomon Islands. Vietnam started taking over the Solomon Islands to cut off trades with Australia and stuff. So they get to the Solomon Islands, and then the U.S. came. So they were coming in thinking that it was going to be like a D-Day kind of thing where they're going to have to fight, and there was no Japanese to be seen. No resistance. They just pulled up to the beach like, where are all the Japanese?
But here's the thing. The Solomon Islands is just one out of numerous different locations, tribes, and cultures that talk about giants. In Nevada, which is miles upon miles away from the Solomon Islands, there are stories of the Sitka from the Paiute Indians who lived in the area. They told of red-haired men and women as tall as 12 feet who originally lived in the area when the Paiutes had first arrived.
All right, let's have a look at this 168-year-old Bible and see what it says about the giants.
Ever notice that in the Bible, God says that the giants were here before and after the flood? Let's go ahead and read it in this 168-year-old Bible. So here we are in Genesis 6, and it says, "And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." Okay, so going back, see that it says there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that.
So we know that these old religious texts always used to speak about giants. Our ancestors always used to speak about giants, and the evidence can be found all over our ancient world. There was a cataclysmic event that turned these giant beings, these giant trees, into stone. They were petrified. They were cut down. This is a massive giant tree. All the flat tops that you see on these mountains, they're all giants. And you can see this is Naka Cave. This was a massive snake back in the day. Massive gorilla, all of these petrified beings found all over the world. The evidence is right in front of you. It's been written into religious text, carved into stone, guys. The evidence is right here. You just need the eyes to see. It's everywhere. Who do you think built the pyramids? Who do you think built all these massive cathedrals and structures? It was the giants. And maybe the stories of Medusa were correct. Who knows? But all we know is that we can find these petrified beings all over the world. This is not just a simple rock formation, guys. These are giant beings. And you just need the eyes to see. Once again, guys, the eyes are useless when the mind is blind, but the evidence is right in front of you. They're trying to cover up our real history. This is a really good example. You know when you put your foot in the mud, how the toes, when they go in first, the mud comes up a little bit. It's the same thing right here. This guy's my favorite. They say that this is a carving. Look at the beard. Look at the hair. This is a petrified giant.
Giant's Den. Back in 2016, a very strange video surfaced from Giants Causeway, UK, that opened up a series of investigations. A visitor was exploring the natural reserve when he accidentally captured a giant wall of rocks open and closed, all on its own.
Earlier today, we're being told tourists and National Trust rangers saw the legendary fin disappear. Right, I believe we have some footage that has been taken on a mobile phone.
Look! Speculation arose that it was probably a giant figure disappearing into the rocks. Some even suggested that the giant might be entering hibernation for winter. It led to an investigation where every stone on the wall was checked, but no reliable proof was found. It wasn't confirmed whether a giant could be living there or not, but the incident sure caused a surge of visitors to the location. Peru Giants. A family on an exploration trip in Peru came across something that they couldn't decipher. Two giant humanoid figures were found standing on the top of a mountain, and they weren't normal humans, but tall, looming giants. Here, have a look at the comparison between humans on top of the mountain and these entities side by side. The height difference is evident, even from a large distance. A lot of people speculated that they might be some extraterrestrial visitors, but due to the video's low quality, nothing could be said for sure. slender giant. Posted a few months back, this video has intrigued many people on the internet. Filmed at an unknown location, a giant yet thin figure with extremely long legs was found, doing push-ups. The clip has left the viewers wondering about its identity. Some people said it was a slender man showing off his gym routine, while others speculated it might be something related to a Bigfoot, as they prefer living in secluded places. But its true identity has remained a mystery. Giant Nephilim. Recently, a video recorded from a mountain in Thailand claimed to have captured a giant human, causing a global sensation. The clip shows a figure standing on one of the peaks in the distance, yet the foggy environment in the video made it hard to decipher what it was. So many people jumped in to speculate, and these giant humanoid figures became the new trend as they have sparked curiosity among giant enthusiasts. But these weren't just tall tales, they were actually captured on camera and shared for all to see on the internet. In a world where the extraordinary is just a click away, the unknown behind these mountain giants has remained unsolved. Mexican Bigfoot. A very harrowing sight unfolded on a mountain in Mexico when a giant figure appeared behind a residential building, terrifying the entire town. The incident caused chaos among the residents, who came out of their houses screaming out of fear. Everyone thought that their town was being invaded. A few netizens suggested that it was the comeback of the ancient giants. As Mexico has been famous for alien conspiracies, people also entertained the possibility of some extraterrestrial entity. The figure remained inconclusive, as no one was able to put a name on it, but it sure gave the townsfolk a good scare. Utah Sasquatch. In the rugged region of Utah, two deer hunters were on their way to Garden City when they came across a curious sight, a dark, giant figure moving across the Golden Land. Concerned for safety in an active hunting area, they quickly filmed the scene and continued their journey. Days later, while reviewing the footage, they were shocked to realize the figure was no ordinary person. It was much larger, towering over any human they'd seen, maybe a Sasquatch. And it wouldn't be a wild assumption, as Utah has a history of sightings of these giants. Here's another incident on hills near Provo, Utah, where a group of friends stumbled upon a towering figure that seemed right out of a legend.
Seriously, look how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
The giant was strolling through the snowy ground. With cameras in hand, they decided to search the entity. But the mystery persisted, as nothing was found.
So I'm seeing something that is not deer tracks anymore. We're trying to determine what it is.
Experts doubted the existence of such creatures, but the curiosity of the unknown still draws people back to the wilderness. Utah Giant. In this recent footage from Salt Lake City, Utah, a very strange sight unfolded near a bustling rock quarry. A mysterious silhouette was captured against the evening clouds that resembled a massive being perched on the mountainside. The onlookers were struck by the uncanny image.
I know, that thing's kind of creepy. It's like a person's silhouette up in the clouds.
Numerous speculations arose about the figure's origins, with some suggesting it might be linked to quarry activities, while some also said that it was probably a giant humanoid living on the mountain. But with countless such sightings, this one was also not confirmed, and viewers have left with more questions than answers.
I'm sorry, if it was your mountain, I'm sorry I broke it.
This guy on a trip to Adams Peak in Sri Lanka came across a very remarkable sight, a very strange rock with a gigantic human footprint, complete with toes and a heel. The footprint appeared pretty embedded in the rock. The locals believed that it was the footprint of Adam, hence the name, and the presence of coins left behind by visitors tells the cultural significance of the site. Here are some more giant footprints from around the world, and this one's even more huge than the last ones. So could there be a giant human foot imprint? Real or not, these places have become the ultimate proof of giant humans that probably existed in the very distant past, which hundreds of people visit each day. Giant spotted.
It's a person, dude.
Humanoid giants, extremely elusive, living all the way up on a mountain, has been the talk of the town. Have a look at what these guys filmed on their road trip. While recording the snow-covered mountains, their camera caught a strange figure on top of the mountain. Again in Mexico, a giant human. The guys argued about if it was a human or something else. Labeled as the giant human sighting, the clip garnered a lot of attention on the internet. I think anytime someone sees something from a distance that they can't pinpoint right away becomes the next giant human sighting. But even with all the blurry clips and foggy visuals, people still go crazy about them.
There's a person standing there.
No, it's not.
Dude, have you seen what I've seen right now?
Oldest footprints. In 2018, researchers in British Columbia stumbled upon something extraordinary. Human footprints dating back 13,000 years. They painted a picture of ancient life, where humans shared space with wild animals. But just a few years later, in 2021, a discovery in New Mexico's White Sands National Park changed everything. When another set of footprints, dating between 21,000 and 23,000 years old, challenged what experts thought they knew about early human settlement in North America. These findings suggest humans might have arrived in the southwestern US much earlier than believed. The discovery shook up our understanding of history and raised new questions about our ancient past. 800 years old treasure. This group of friends was out on an exploration deep within an enormous mountain range when they unintentionally made an exceptional discovery. Finding ruins with the help of Google Earth, they started digging and found an 800-year-old treasure locked in sealed clay pots. They cautiously opened it and found a load of accessories from ancient times, probably history of a civilization that mastered handicrafts and blacksmithing. The clip got a lot of attention on the internet. Many people thought that the entire thing was staged and was unlikely for ancient civilizations to have such jewelry. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on this discovery. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. And something is interesting about this sculpture. A secret room behind Abraham Lincoln's hairline. It contains all the details of the work done on the mountain and the society that created it. Devil's Doorway. Near Lake Titicaca, Peru, settled in the rugged terrain, lies a fascinating anomaly, the Devil's Doorway, also known as Amaru Muru. Carved into towering red sandstone, this mysterious portal defies explanation. Conspiracy has it that visitors are drawn by its strange energy, said to originate from the channels covering the sides of the doorway. Even with its enigmatic origins, it has been a site of pilgrimage for centuries, calling travelers to experience its ancient power. Labeled as the Devil's Doorway by the Catholic Church, its popularity remains the same. Abandoned building. Recently, a very strange discovery was made in the mountains of Guizhou, China. Recorded during a drone exploration of the region, a mysterious building was found nestled in between the hills. The purpose of the building has remained unknown. No one knows who built it, and how the materials for the construction were transported to the exclusive location. With no exploration done in the area, as its route seems to have no reach, the building is still a puzzle. Now it's time for today's open discussion. This picture going viral on the internet was captured when people in Mexico claimed that they have witnessed a giant living in a cave on the mountain.
Here's the deal. About 12 years ago, I wanted to disprove the Bible, and by doing so, I jumped on Genesis 6, where Jesus talks about there were giants in those days, and there will be again when the Son of Man returns. And I'm thinking to myself, this is easy. I'm only on the second page of the Bible, and I can already disprove this. So I started looking into giants, and this is what I found. This giant footprint in South Africa, and then another giant footprint that's in stone in New Mexico. And of course, the mainstream media says these things were carved. Carved. You can't carve a footprint like this into stone. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into the Lovelock Cave in Nevada, where the stories go, there were 3 red-haired giants, double rows of teeth, 6 fingers, 6 toes, that were cannibals, and they were eating people, and the Indians eventually trapped them in the cave and burned them all to death. Debunking channels. There were no red-haired giants found in Lovelock Cave in Nevada whatsoever at all. But fortunately, I have the actual documentation from the guys that did the survey in 1929, and it's all right here on Berkeley UC's digital library. It was tough to find, but on page 178 of the 263-page document, it says, in the south end of the cave, about 20 feet deep, we unearthed some skeletons. In the north central part of the cave, about 4 feet deep, was a striking looking body of a man 6 foot 6 inches tall. His body was mummified and his hair was distinctly red. There was a grass rope around his neck with a knot under the left ear. The rope was about 8 feet long. The feet were bound together with the ankle to above the knees with stout rope. The mummification was complete except for a part of the abdomen. The other mummies all had red hair. I think there were either 4 or 5. The man was, quote unquote, a giant. Paiute Indians also wrote a book, and they told about fighting the red-haired giants that had 6 fingers and 6 toes, 2 rows of teeth, and they ate people. Because this was very real. In Presidential Library and Museum. This is the official website. It's on page 2, where he says, if this much is lifted up, for this one space of 200,000-300,000 square miles, an equal amount must be lifted for every other equal space. I believe they were talking about building Niagara Falls or putting a turbine or something like that. He is overwhelmed in the contemplation of vast power the sun is constantly exerting in the quiet, noiseless operation of lifting water up. It calls up the indefinite past. When Columbus first sought this continent, when Christ suffered on the cross, Niagara was roaring here. The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones filled the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now. Contemporary with the white race of men, and older than the first man. Niagara is strong, fresh today as it was 10,000 years ago. This was a handwritten document by Abraham Lincoln. If he had just mentioned, giants of America, this, that, and the other thing, but he didn't. He mentioned whose bones filled the mounds of America. The mounds of America, of which I've visited all of them personally.
The first thing that you would think when you see this photo is AI generated, right? This is actually a real person named Robert Wadlow. Yo, cuz was 9 feet tall, bro. He was born in 1918 and he checked out July 15th, you feel me? He was one of the tallest recorded humans. Now let me get back to my other topic with this shit, right? I feel like my man was mixed with the Nephilim genetics, bro. Like real shit. Now think about this. This was a human that was 9 feet tall. Where do y'all think those genetics came from, guys?
In the 1800s, reports of 30-foot tall giants began to surface in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. These giants were said to have lived in the forest and practiced logging on an exponentially larger scale than normal humans.
It is true that giants have been found in the mounds in the Midwest.
The Nephilim giants mystery just got solved, and what we discovered is much more disturbing than we imagined. For centuries, ancient texts spoke of towering beings that walked among humans.
The thing that's really interesting is when you look around the world, you also find they have something called dolmens. Dolmens are just these massive stones put together to let you know as a marker that there's a giant buried here. There's somebody of royalty buried here.
Now, evidence from remote islands in the Pacific reveals these weren't just stories. The Nephilim giants mystery has taken a dark turn, as new findings suggest these creatures may still exist. What makes this discovery so disturbing isn't just their size. It's what they did to survive, and how they've remained hidden for so long. Ancient footprints. The Solomon Islands hold secrets that predate written history by thousands of years. When Spanish explorer Alvaro de Mendaña de Nera first set foot on these remote Pacific islands in 1568, he expected to find gold. Instead, he discovered something far more unsettling. The native inhabitants spoke of beings they called the true giants, creatures that stood over 10 feet tall, with long reddish hair and eyes that glowed red in the darkness. These weren't mythical figures from folklore. To the islanders, they were history. They were real. Massive footprints carved into stone, some measuring over 18 inches long, scattered across the islands like ancient calling cards. The natives pointed to caves where these beings supposedly lived, connected by underground tunnels that go beneath the ocean floor between islands. The depth of these impressions suggested creatures weighing over 800 pounds, far beyond any known human proportions. What disturbed Mendaña most wasn't the size of these footprints or the elaborate cave systems. It was the islanders' matter-of-fact descriptions of cannibalism and headhunting rituals associated with these giants. They spoke of offerings, of people taken in the night, of screams echoing from the depths of those caves. The natives described how the giants would emerge during certain moon phases, hunting in coordinated groups that could surround entire villages. The Spanish quickly abandoned their search for gold and fled. The Solomon Islands were forgotten for over 200 years, their location lost to the annals of history. Some say this wasn't an accident. Some say they were meant to stay hidden. Mendaña's crew burned their maps before departing, and several sailors who spoke of their experiences back in Spain mysteriously disappeared. But the footprints remained, waiting to tell their story to anyone brave enough to listen. Centuries later, these same stone impressions became the first piece of evidence in solving the Nephilim giants mystery. But ancient footprints were just the beginning. The real breakthrough came when a modern expert decided to investigate these legends for himself, the engineer's discovery. In 1995, aircraft engineer Marius Boy-Rayon made a decision that changed everything. After serving in the Royal Australian Air Force, he left civilization behind and moved to the Solomon Islands. Unlike previous visitors who stayed briefly, Boy-Rayon committed to understanding the culture completely. He married a local woman and became part of the community in ways no outsider had before. At first, the giant stories seemed like harmless folklore passed down through generations. But the more Boy-Rayon listened, the more he realized these weren't just stories being passed down. These were eyewitness accounts. Recent ones. The islanders spoke with the same certainty they used when describing the weather or discussing fishing conditions. The islanders described encounters with beings standing 15 feet tall.
Have you ever wondered where all the giants have gone? They used to be everywhere, walking this earth. But now, you don't see them. Remember, there was a time where everything grew big due to the amount of oxygen that the giant trees used to produce. But as you know, they chopped them all down. And anybody still capable of growing big gets labeled with having a disease. They call it giantism. They get prescribed medicine, more like poison, which stumps their growth. And I always find it funny that they could tell you what dinosaurs was eating and what they looked like 5 million years ago. But like, was you even there though, bruv? And some of you may not be aware, but any so-called dinosaur bones that they do find, they only find pieces. Most of that skeleton what you see there are reconstructed, fake bones. But anytime they do find any real giant bones, Smithsonian comes in and destroys them. But in the 1600s, the Spanish did capture a two-headed giant, and that is still on display. But like most facts of history, they still don't teach you the truth.
A TikTok account by the name of El Domador de Sumisas captures something really strange on top of a mountain in Mexico. What looks like a giant humanoid being moving on top of a mountain. This thing has to be at least 2 to 3 meters tall. If you take a look at the mountain and the trucks passing by as a reference for size, he captured 2 videos I'm going to show you guys. This is the first video.
These fossilized tracks are huge and human-shaped. Found in ancient rock layers, these footprints are over 3 feet long, with toes, arches, and perfect human form. But here's the twist. They're millions of years old. Too old for humans.
This island quite literally is a sleeping, petrified giant. This is undeniable. If you think that this is a simple rock formation, you are out of your mind. The Bible told us about the Nephilim and the giants that used to roam this earth. All of our ancestors told us this as well, and the evidence couldn't be any more clear. Peace and love.
I know y'all gotta be lying with this one. They just found a giant human skeleton under a bridge. A construction worker found this buried deep in the riverbank, and he dug it up and this is what he found. Just when we thought we seen it all in 2025, y'all. I wonder what the scientists and archaeologists are gonna have to say about this one.
find giant skeletons unearthed in Pittsburgh. Mound builders. Y'all seeing that? Put a 1 in the chat if you're seeing that. Giants, not one, giants in West Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you can deny 1 or 2 of them. You can deny 1 or 2 of them. Right? But you can't deny that. That is the map of where all the giants were found.
Nope, this is not fake, and an entire country has just been taken over by cannibalistic 13-foot tall angry people. People were absolutely terrified after several witnesses spotted countless giants that were ranging from 10 to 13 feet tall, to some even saying they've seen 36 feet tall on Solomon Island, and they're coming out now angry. The giants are not only known as violent and not friendly, but are known to eat each other and other humans, with a police report on the island showing 2 children that have gone missing, and that's just from this year. The government claims that right after World War II, there were giants roaming around, and not anymore. However, many others who go visit Solomon Island now have claimed that they still see them. And when it rains, people have said they have found huge footprints about 3 or 4 times bigger than their own, making many people very curious and making the grave mistake of exploring. With reports saying over 70% of Solomon Island have yet to remain explored, the possibility of an almost unearthly creature could be likely.
This video is what you were waiting for. The direct interview with the pilot who transported the 15 feet tall Kandahar giant.
Back in 2005, I was actually stationed or deployed to Qatar. It was a completely normal mission for us. We were not alerted for anything abnormal. It was in the middle of the day. I remember coming into a base in Afghanistan called Bagram. Back in those days, it was pretty austere. It was an old Russian air base that we were using. It's basically built in a bowl in the mountains where you have to stay high right up in the last minute, and then you basically come screaming back down to land. The area to the side of it was called the Valley of Death because during the Soviet days with the Mujahideen, they had fired their rockets into a lot of the helicopters, so you could see all kinds of wrecks and stuff in the valley below, which for the most part I didn't pay attention to because I was a little busy getting the airplane on the ground safely. We landed and basically was told to taxi to the very end of the tarmac, and like I said, it was middle of the day, very hot. I remember that. We opened the doors and unloaded the equipment that we had brought in, and then we were met at the aircraft by what we later on called the babysitters, but they kind of introduced themselves and said, hey, no cameras, nobody's taking pictures here, we're moving some high-value stuff. When the load got there, we're very, of course, curious to see what it was, because that's just the way you are when you're told that you're not allowed to have a camera. They say this thing had been dead for maybe a day or 2, but it stunk. And when I say stunk, I've smelled dead things before, but this had a more of a, I want to say a musky stink, kind of a, not really a decay, but more of a, if somebody hadn't taken a shower in like 10 years type of a musky stink is all I can tell you. And it was basically a dead guy, and this guy was extremely large. When I say large, our pallets are basically, if I remember correctly, about 9 by 12 feet or so. This guy was laying in a fetal position on the pallet, so he filled the pallet. We estimated his size at approximately 12 to 10 feet tall. I did see his skin color. I was expecting somebody of more Arabic descent, being in Afghanistan and all. I know he was dead, but he was very pale, very white. Another thing that us and the rest of the crew did was we took our feet. He was in a fetal position, so you could take your feet and put it kind of, you could see where his feet were there, and they were wrapped up. He did not have shoes on, but he had like, looked like he was wrapping them in some kind of a canvas type stuff, but we were sticking our feet up next to his feet, and his feet were extremely big. We know that the standard weight on one of those pallets is about 1,500 pounds, and I do remember that the Loadmaster did the weights, and it was around 1,100 pound guy. The pallet sits on dunnage. You know what dunnage is? It's basically like railroad ties so that you can get a forklift underneath it and pick it up. So it was on dunnage, and basic dunnage is like maybe a 4x4. And then the pallet is, say, yay thick. It's actually aluminum and balsa wood. And this guy, I mean, laying down was very, very wide. I mean, and he was, like I said, he's in a fetal position, and you go up and just, you hit it, and of course he's under a tarp and all that, I understand that, but he was he was a dense guy. We questioned the babysitters of, hey, where'd you get this guy? And some of the Army guys there with him relayed to us that this guy had, I guess, been living up in the mountains next to a village where the villagers basically treated him like a god. I did infer that they were making sacrifices to this guy because they said they found bones of people. The giant supposedly, like I said, I was not there, supposedly killed the first team that they came across. He was extremely big and fast and agile for a guy that size. They sent up another team, and when the second team went in there to get him, supposedly he had already started to basically eat on the team that had been killed the first time. They then grabbed a helicopter, and the helicopter brought him down where we picked him up. After we loaded the Giant, it was just a standard mission back. We took him all the way back to Al Udeid in Qatar, where he was transloaded onto another airplane. I believe it was a C-17. I was done with my mission then. I got away from it. I was done. I did ask some questions later of, where it might have gone. And as the grapevine goes, it was probably taken back to the United States. And the words I heard were right, Pat. But again, I don't know.
Are giants real? Did they walk our earth? Makes you wonder. It's something that we all fascinate and wonder about. Well, let's talk about modern-day giants. The following footage is of a woman from Brazil named Alisson. She's purported to be 6'9". It is important to note that the tallest woman in the world ever measured was
This woman gave birth to the largest baby ever recorded, Anna Haining-Swan, who stood 7 feet 11 inches, 241 meters, tall, married Martin Van Buren Bates, himself measuring 7 feet 9 inches, 2.36 meters. Their newborn son was nearly 30 inches, 75 centimeters, tall, and weighed 23 pounds, 9 ounces, 10.7 kilograms. Tragically, he passed away.
Breaking discovery deep inside a recently exposed volcanic field, huge, perfectly preserved human footprints have been found embedded in solidified lava rock. Measuring nearly 2 feet long, these footprints show detailed toe impressions, baffling experts worldwide. Researchers have begun documenting the site with drones and handheld cameras, while curious visitors cautiously approach, eager for answers.
This is what was found near Noah's Ark.
You wanted to see something about giants?
Yes, giants.
So we're going to start off really big. How's that sound? Here's the biggest thing I've got. This is from an 18-foot person, estimated. Big toe bone.
That is this part?
Yeah, your very end, big toe bone. It's been x-rayed, and this person had broke their toe bone, and then it healed up. This is from an 18-foot person.
We were out at, we were in Turkey, and we were out at the village where we believed Noah's house to be. And years ago, they had dug up a grave that we believe was Noah's wife's grave. Just looking around where the hole for her grave was, where they had dug it up, and we found some bones. And these These bones here have been identified by a radiologist and a couple of physicians. None of them want to put their name on their statement, but here is what they told us we have. We have the human finger with a touch of...
A photo of this giant had millions believing it was photoshopped, but a man named Ryan Elliott wanted proof and actually found the body.
There we go, there's our giant human being. Try and put myself here for reference.
We've always been told that giants weren't real, but here's the proof that they actually walked among us. The giant conspiracy is a wild one, but what if I told you there's an actual science behind it? And it's not for the reason you think. We've been told that giants roamed the earth long before us, but where are they? Are they extinct? Are they hiding? Who knows? All we're really left with are these ancient stories, cave paintings, and yes, the occasional stupid Bigfoot photo that no one knows how to take a proper picture of. But throughout time, we have called them by many names: the Nephilim, the Seneca, the Anunnaki, and so on. The Paiute tribe was said to actually have entire wars with these beings.
For 3 years, they battle one another. The last of the giants hold themselves up in the Lovelock Cave, and the Paiute people stuffed the openings with a bunch of brush and firewood and lit the place on fire.
Multiple bodies were actually found in the 1920s by a scientist named L.L. Loud. Bodies of which were 8 to 10 feet tall, with hundreds of thousands of items found with them. In Parcas, Peru, 1928, Julio Tello, an archaeologist, discovered tombs of a lost civilization where he found hundreds of skulls. Not regular skulls, giant skulls. Like, literally, giant skulls, like the size of bowling balls.
And the whole shape is much more complex. We think this person was born with an elongated skull. Eye sockets are up to 50% larger than normal. These tiny bones here are not in a normal human being.
So we may have uncovered a bunch of strange bodies, but where are these giants now? And why don't we see them anymore? What if I told you it had to do with the climate? Now hear me out. This actually makes sense. Bring up the dinosaurs. Richard Owen, a paleontologist from the 1840s, was the first to theorize that dinosaurs didn't grow as big as they did from just evolving from their genetics. Owen was the first ever to theorize that everyone and everything evolves mainly from their climate and environment. And what's the biggest difference from our climate now and a million years ago? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. In simple terms, when dinosaurs were roaming around the world, our Earth's atmosphere was made up about 35% oxygen and 2% carbon. Why does this matter? Having more oxygen actually impacts the physiology of an animal, making it easier to deliver oxygen to our tissues, which is crucial for energy production. Higher metabolic rates allowing them to grow bigger and stronger. Carbon, which is 5 to 10% higher than it is now. This would have boosted the photosynthesis in plants, leading to more larger and abundant vegetation, which gave the dinosaurs more access to food, which allowed them to grow bigger. And yes, dinosaurs were obliterated by a big fat rock. But as time went on, evolution worked its magic. Humans came along and we are tiny. In the world we live in today, oxygen and carbon levels are a lot different. We got 21% oxygen and 0.004% carbon, meaning we humans will not grow as big and nor will the plants. And the more we keep cutting down the forests, the smaller and smaller we will get. But it wasn't always like this. Before the Industrial Revolution and all the deforestation, theoretically we would have had more oxygen, which in turn would allow certain people to evolve and grow to be bigger and stronger and more violent. Considering we did have more oxygen, leaving room for growth, but 5 to 10 times less carbon than the dinosaurs, leaving us with less abundant vegetation to feed off of. Not so good. Thousands of stories have been told about giants terrorizing the earth, like the story of Nephilim.
In the book of Genesis, it says that the sons of God came into the daughters of men. They created a hybrid offspring who were called the Nephilim, or the fallen ones.
Said to have been the main reason for the decay of the world, which caused God to cleanse and flood. Or in other instances, like in the stories of the Anunnaki, giant-like gods who had the strength to build pyramids and move boulders weighing over 25 to 80 tons, which even in today's technology, we'd have trouble with. With all this being said, due to the atmospheric shift at the time of the Industrial Revolution, evidence suggests that giants could have existed. But as oxygen and carbon levels have decreased, these giants might have just gotten smaller and smaller. Hence the stories of Bigfoot. They aren't necessarily giants, but they allegedly are still 3 to 4 feet taller than the average person. All in all, giants may still be out there, but they aren't as giant as they used to be.
Some time ago in our not so distant past, we lived alongside actual giants. There are many theories as to who the giants were, why they were so damn tall, and where did they all go. It's starting to become evident that whoever they were, they lived everywhere throughout the vast Tartarian Empire. Just look at the size of this guy, and this one. This giant enjoyed giving his little friends relaxing shoulder rubs in his free time, but made a living scooping out rain gutters with his bare shovel hands. Look at the size of this giant. A giant skeleton next to Jimmy Hoffa. How can all these giants have simply vanished? Regular-sized people looking like children next to these Nephilim. How can beings that were so stupidly large manage to vanish from our history books? It's said that when the Anunnaki made us, some of these took human women wives, and their offspring were called the Nephilim. Could it be the distant relatives of these Nephilim lived alongside the Tartarians? This horse looks very confused. They held accordion competitions. Check out the guy in the back. Many had normal-sized wives, usually pictured sitting, or had some slack-jawed, private begging for a piggy-back rye. Many silkworms died in the making of that dude's outfit. When the British Empire met the Tartarian Empire, the new DC you should cast someone this tall to play the new Wonder Woman. Giant footprints found. Take your disbelief way over there.